organizational culture. So I paraphrase it in this fashion. And when I constructed this sentence several years ago, I deliberately wrote it as a contradiction. Because if the culture is the glue holding the system together, how can it be the motor moving it toward its goals? Well, the glue is in the dance studio. Do the dance instructors work alone?
Not normally. It depends. A lot of times they'll teach in partners, so your student has both the perspective of the follow and the lead.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes. I can dance a little bit, so I understand what that means. By the way, there's some really great dance films out there. That, I got distracted easily, but my favorite, I'll think of it after a while, but it's old. Anyway, so it's the glue, the values, hold it together because people are identified with those values, and those same values acting as the glue act as the motor to move it toward its goals. So I think with the example that you gave of the motorcycle shop with customer service and asking people or thanking people before they leave the shop and so on. Now, there are several dimensions of organizational culture shown on page 73 of the text, and this is a summary of those dimensions. And think of these dimensions as a set of lenses that allow you to look at a culture from different perspectives, and you pick up each lens and it's going to show you something different. In the upper left, at approximately the 10 or 11 o'clock position, it says levels. And we're going to discover this is quite important. And levels of organization culture reveal themselves to us at different levels of visibility. Some are easy to see fast, others are hard to see and emerge slowly. Then there is pervasiveness, which means that the culture is widespread throughout the organization. So think of the shop, the dance studio, and was it Arrow? What is Arrow? Arrow what?
It's just a clothing store.
A clothing store. Okay. I just don't know. But think of the three cultures that were represented and any others that you wish to reflect on. Pervasiveness says it is widespread. You pick up the implicitness lens and you discover that various things are taken for granted. It's just the right way to behave, and everybody knows that they're supposed to behave that way. Then coming down to the lower right, imprinting. This is the expression on individuals of the values to the extent that become like a set of roots that tie people to the organization's culture. Then there's a political dimension, and we don't have time this semester, I don't think it's on the syllabus, no it isn't, of getting to power and political behavior, which is chapter 15. But we can't escape it. It's always part of the systems that we come in. Next lens is plurality. We pick it up and we look at the organization culture to see if there are any subcultures. Now turn to the three people who spoke and anybody else who would like to contribute. Can you identify subcultures in your systems?
Yeah.
Please go ahead and just raise your voice so we pick it up on the mics.
Well, we teach different types of dance. And the people who dance tango are a lot different than the people who dance salsa. So I'd say that's subcultures, not only in the teachers, but also in the students.
Do the people who teach salsa look differently from the people who teach tango?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It's more in their attitudes towards their particular type of dance.
That's good. It's a good example. I know there are subcultures in your shop.
Yeah.
And I have never been in there.
Every department has its own little culture.
Right.
Like service, parts, or sales has its own culture. And then actually, two of our employees came over from a different shop, so they have a real good background together. So they have their own little thing, and they both have two offices next to each other. So it's like there's a lot of different subcultures within the shop.
Right. How about Arrow? Subcultures? Where are you located so I can go visit? Just to see it. That'd be a field trip for me. Pardon?
Coronado Mall.
Coronado Mall. Okay, I'll find it.
Floor.
Top floor? All right. It sounds like it's small.
It's, yeah.
All right.
Very small.
Are there any subcultures? Okay, that's fine. When you go to work, don't say anything to anyone about this conversation. It'll scare them.
I used to work there during break.
Okay, so you're not working there now. All right. I will go in and check it out.
Report back.
Pardon?
So you can come report back.
Right. All right. Now let's use the Anderson School of Management as our target. Are there any subcultures within the Anderson School of Management?
Yeah.
The answer is emphatically yes. What are they?
Different departments.
Okay, what are they?
Finance, accounting, human resources, international management.
International management.
Marketing.
I know that the marketing and accounting in specific, they like to rag on each other a lot. So I got Benavides from marketing, and he just always rags on the accounting majors in class. And then Coulter rags, he's the accounting teacher, rags on the marketing majors in his accounting class. They just kind of.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I know the two people, but I didn't know they were doing that kind of stuff. And I'm not going to pass judgment on it at all. But we have clearly distinct subcultures within the Anderson School. We're big enough now. When I arrived here, and this was a conversation just before class, I arrived with a group of, as part of a group of 6 newly hired faculty, and that brought the total number of faculty to 19 in 1971. We're now about 45-ish, and it goes up and down a wee bit around that amount. So we're big enough to have subdivided, and we clearly have subdivided by departmentalization. Accounting is one whole department, and it's entirely separate as a department, and it's pure. It's all accountants. Within my department, we're called DOS, Department of Organizational Studies. We have the organizational behavior people like myself and Professor Jackie Hood. We have, and some others. We have human resource management people that teach those types of courses, and we have strategy people, and we have law. Now, does that sound like a mix? And it really is a mix. Now, we're not hostile. We get along just fine. We're probably the smoothest department in the entire school, and we don't rag on the accountants or the marketing people. We consider that bad behavior. We actually do. We have an implicit rule that you don't do that. If you have an issue, in my department, if you have an issue with the person in the department, you go to the person and you talk about it. Okay. Lastly, interdependency. Now, look at least the shop and maybe the dance studio. Interdependency is talking about the connectedness among the different parts. And it would seem in a motorcycle shop that you'd have interdependency between sales and service,
Yeah.
especially after the sale.
You have to follow a lot of lines of communication. After you sell the bike, you have to talk to finance. Then you have to go get arranged with service when you can get the bike done. You can take them to parts, see if you can get them an exhaust or something. And then you go and you talk to your mechanic, and you're like, "Hey, dude, can you bust this out for me real quick? I'm trying to get this guy on the road." And and the people that bring you in, that you start with, before you start talking to all the managers and stuff, you develop really strong connections with them, and
Right.
they're able to help you out with specific tasks that you need done, like right then and there.
Excellent. Excellent. Good examples. All right. So now let's start to flesh this out and we're going to go to, let's see, I'm looking at the clock deliberately to see when I want to include the film. Here is the levels, not the levels perspective so much as the levels of organizational culture as a way in which we can look at the systems we come into. I'm going to be coming up on using the film, the opening scenes from Top Gun in a moment. And those opening scenes live